Hey everybody, today I'm here to talk about turkey calls, friction calls. Right here with me I've got a jackpot. It's a Primos call, and we're just going to go over some basic calling techniques today for you guys. I know turkey season's right around the corner, so we all need to be getting brushed up on our calling skills. So the first thing I like to do, whether I have an older call or a new call, is I need to sand it. I like to just get a little bit of sandpaper, just some coarser grit sandpaper, and I'm going to sand it, the call, but I want to go one direction, usually from left to right or right to left. I don't want to do a circle or up and down, left and right. I want to go straight, left and right. And I'm going to do this just up and down the face of the call until I have a pretty decent amount of scuff marks across there. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make some cuts into the surface so that the striker will be able to get a grip and actually make a sound. So here's my striker. The way that I like to hold a call is I actually kind of like to hold it like this so that I can pitch my call in a particular direction, because a lot of the times you can see the holes in the back of the call. The sound is going to be coming out of those holes. So what I like to do is just with some basic calls is I like to hold it into the direction that I want to call, and that's when I'm actually going to make my calls. So what I do is the first call I'll go over with is just a basic yelp call. Okay, and it's one of the first calls that I learned how to do, and it's pretty simple to do on one of these friction calls. So let me get a little bit closer and I'll show you. So one of the three calls that I typically do is a yelp. To do the yelp, I move the striker in like an oval pattern, a really tight oval pattern on the call like this. Now, the second type of call that I like to do is a purr. It took me a while to figure out the purr because I was holding my striker too close to the bottom like this. You got to make sure that you kind of hold it up a little bit higher so that you can get that vibration. But when I'm doing a purr, I want to apply just a little bit of downward pressure, and I'm pulling down across the call, and I'm letting the striker skip across the surface. The third call that I like to do is just called a cut. And it's very similar to the purr, except instead of dragging it down slowly, I'm going to push it down violently and with a little bit more pressure. So one thing that I wanted to mention is once you get the call sanded, you're going to want to try to avoid touching it with your fingers. You're going to want to try to avoid touching the striker with your fingers as well. Some calls can operate in wet. Even the ones that have, I didn't really have a whole lot of luck with it. I don't have as much control over the call when they are wet, even if they do operate when they're wet. But this particular one is a glass friction call. I can't get this one wet at all. So be mindful whenever you're using these kind of calls out in the woods during turkey season, because a lot of times in turkey season, at least here in Kentucky, it's usually in the springtime, we get a lot of rain and it's pretty wet during that time of year. So you really want to make sure that you're keeping your call dry, keep it protected, make sure that the elements stay off of it. Even if you keep it in your pocket, sometimes the condensation can build up on it, and when you need it, it won't be ready because it'll be wet. So always be mindful of the surface of your call, the surface of your strikers, and make sure that the calls are dry and ready to use whenever you need them. One thing that you also might want to do before you hit the woods, especially if you're a beginner, is get online or get on TV on some of these outdoor channels and watch some of these videos on turkey hunting, and start listening, or even go out into the woods if you can and listen to some real turkeys and learn their behavioral patterns and learn what their sounds are like. Even once you learn how to make a particular sound on a call, you still have to make sure that you can mimic that out in the woods and make a turkey believe that you're another turkey. So you'll want to also listen to the sound of the calls. You're going to want to listen to the cadence, the volumes of the calls, the frequency of the calls, and then you can start stringing these things together. What I would suggest for beginners would be the yelp call. It typically is one of the first calls that people learn because it is one of the easiest calls. The one thing about the yelp is you just want to learn that cadence. And the more you listen to real turkeys, the more you're going to get that cadence. And so this is what that would kind of sound like. So that's a yelp call. Now, hens and gobblers, they yelp a little bit differently. Jakes yelp a little bit differently. So you're going to want to listen to the type of turkey that you're wanting to emulate, whether it's a tom or a jake or a hen, and you're going to want to replicate the cadence of that particular bird. The difference in your purrs is really just going to be the volume in the purrs and the aggressiveness of the purrs. A lot of times in the mornings when they're still treed, I like to do some really light purring in the mornings just to kind of let them know where I'm at, and a lot of times you'll get them birds to fly down really close to you. If you pull it off right, and if they're interested. And just like the cutting you can make it aggressive as you want or as less aggressive as you want, just depending on the situation. Turkey hunting, it's very dynamic. Every situation is going to be a little bit different. You kind of got to learn to read the bird and know how it's reacting to your calls and adjust accordingly. So just practice these calls, practice putting them together, and you'll do fine. That's all I have for you today. Like I said, spring turkey season's right around the corner. Hopefully we're going to have some really good hunts for you guys here coming up. And, be looking for this call out there in the woods. I'm sure you'll see it here pretty soon. I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this and found it useful, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later.